I think they feel that telling their story would make them look a bit weak, make them look a bit inexperienced, make them look like they don't know what they're doing. One thing founders need to learn is that when you do make the mistakes, now what can you show others to help them also avoid that mistake? People like reality, you know?
What is your go-to tip for fixing a boring ad?
If somebody turns off the sound of that video, would it make sense?
Yvette Boateng of The Good Yap, welcome to Founders and Jeans. Welcome to or welcome back to Founders and Jeans. I'm your host, Emily Jean. And before we get into the episode, I just want to say a huge thank you so much for listening to my podcast. It means the world to me. I also wanted to say that if you enjoy the show, feel free to leave a review on Spotify or Apple, wherever you're listening to this, and also to follow us. You can follow us on Spotify, of course. You can follow us on Instagram at Founders and Jeans. You can also find me on Instagram at emily.jeans, or you can look me up on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to connect with people on there, and I have a lot of good conversations from listeners. Also, you can always leave a bad review for us. I'm totally fine with that. And in fact, I think that's exciting. I would love to know what we can do to improve. So you can also leave comments below and let me know what you enjoyed, what you didn't enjoy. I actually do read every single one. We also have a newsletter that comes out once a week, so you can get all the updates from us. We also put in some weekly business and marketing updates in there, as well as some personal notes from me. You can subscribe to that on my LinkedIn, also through the Instagram and in the show notes below. Anyways, that is all from me. I'm so excited for you to listen to this episode. I hope it's a good one, and I'll chat to you soon. Bye. Yvette Boateng of The Good Yap. Welcome to Founders and Jeans. I am so excited to have you today. For people who have not heard about you yet, why don't you give a little bit of a bio about yourself?
Okay, so thank you so much once again for this lovely time. So just a bit about me. So like she said, my name's Yvette. I am multiple things, if I'm very honest with you. There's a lot of things within what I do. But number one, I do creative strategy. I do UGC. And I've just started something new called, like she said, called The Good Yap. So it's a coaching and consulting service where I work with founders, creators, and entrepreneurs to help them understand their story, which I can help them use to build their personal brand and attract opportunities. So that's kind of like a new venture that I've developed, but I've had years of experience in marketing, for like I think I'd say 9 years before even marketing was like a really big thing. But I've been working in marketing for years, studied marketing in university, and I think my journey has just kind of led me to where I am now. And of course, we'll get into that. But yeah, I'm like multifaceted. I do creative strategy, I do UGC. Now I'm coaching and consulting. And that's kind of like my new baby at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I have your
Mhm.
bio here, and it says in it that you spin stories and you yap for a
Yes.
living, which I love that headline. That's so good. So relate
Hmm.
to that. I want to talk to you about, I guess, well, why don't we start with what does that really
Hmm.
mean to you? Spin stories and yap
Hmm.
for a living. Like, what does storytelling play in your life? Like, what role
Yeah.
does it play?
Well, first of all, I mean, I think just based off my genuine personality, I love to talk and I love telling stories. And I think that kind of understanding and realization kind of came, I'd say, in the last year or so, where I realized that anytime I do content for clients, so my UGC clients, the main thing they would always touch on was my storytelling ability. That I wasn't just pretty videos, pretty pictures. That's not really like my thing. I want to take somebody on a journey from beginning to end, if that makes sense. And then I started posting on LinkedIn earlier this year, around May, and I was just sharing content about what I was building, what I'm doing, what I'm learning. I was getting DMs and messages about, oh, I really like the way you tell stories. I really like the way you develop stories online. And I realized that it wasn't just something that I like doing for fun. And it was actually something that I was genuinely good at. and it's something that I was doing for my clients for the last, few years. I've been doing UGC. And now I kind of said, okay, where's my focus really lie, Because sometimes I think you can do such a broad thing, but like how do you kind of narrow it down to like why founders, why creators, why entrepreneurs? Number one, I feel like I've been one of all of those at one point in my life and used that to shape my own
Mm.
kind of life and opportunities. I also have family members who do the same thing. And anytime they ask me for advice, I'm always trying to tell them, share your story. How do you want to get into your story? How can you connect with your audience? And it's like in a very even just a casual conversation. My mum's also like a CEO. She's a founder of a business abroad. So she's always coming
Mm.
to me for marketing advice. Like every other day, she's like, "Look, I need help. I need help." I'm like, "Okay, do this, do that, do this, do that." Of course, I don't charge her. She's my mum. But it's one of those
Mm.
ones where I realized that there was a pattern. I think I noticed a pattern over time. So when I say I spin
Mm.
stories, it's more that, you might have loads of ideas about, okay, this is why I'm doing this business. This is why I started this movement. Okay, bring that information to me. Let's talk about it. So the aspects of it where we just kind of having that kind of casual conversation. I basically pull that out from them and just have that kind of conversation and help them create an overall like story. So, okay, do we want to go into origin story? Do you want to talk about your journey? These are the kind of touch points you need to have within your content. So both written and then also video. But of course, before you get to video, you have to have like a script. So that's where I feel like
Mhm.
my flair is usually in the writing aspect. That's where like I flourish the most because once you get the writing right, the video can translate quite well, if that makes sense. So my aim
Right.
now is to work with many founders, creatives, entrepreneurs, to basically help them shape their story online to create a personal brand and also allow that personal brand to attract opportunities and attract people to actually say, oh, we want to work with you or we want you to speak at our event. So that's basically what I do in a nutshell.
Okay, I really love that
Mhm.
explanation. I want to go back a little bit. So, it sounds like you actually got into
Mhm.
storytelling and doing that for clients through
Mhm.
UGC. So, I want to ask then, how did you get into
Mhm.
UGC? I think that is people are so curious about
Mhm. Mhm.
UGC now and everybody wants
Mhm.
to do it and they want to be
Yeah.
successful in it. So, talk to me about that process.
Yeah. So I don't even remember when I started, if I'm very honest. It's been a little while now. I think I just scrolled on TikTok one day and I think, there was a time where like I feel like influencing was like big. I feel like it's still big now, but I was like, oh, I kind of want to be an influencer.
Mm.
I didn't even know the clue. I didn't know the reason, but I was just like, I want to try it. I just feel like I wasn't really getting anywhere, and I was like, okay, let me try and find something else. And I think I just came across a video, and someone was talking about how they create content for brands to post on their socials, that kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, this seems very interesting. I started building up my personal brand over the years, and then I started, yeah, just posting and sharing about what I was doing. So I was like, creating videos of like random things in my house, like honestly, just finding like a perfume, like my mum's perfume, be like, hey, just doing a video. And over time, I kind of like built a community, especially my main community was on X. So Twitter, I mean, I still call it Twitter. I'm so sorry. But that was like my main place. I did post on Instagram here and there, not as much, but I was always engaging. And I think one thing that really helped me, which people don't talk about enough, is connection and building relationships. Because because of my
Mm.
ability to talk and converse with people, I would literally ask questions. If I see a video that's really good, like the lighting is good, the angles, I would ask questions. I'm like, oh my gosh, how did you do this edit? How
Mm.
did you do this? How did you do that? Because I wanted to learn how to use those editing and cool techniques to build a story. I just felt that I shouldn't be someone who just does pretty pictures. That was never really my thing, if I'm very honest with you. That
Mhm.
that area
Mhm.
has its purpose, but I felt that I'm good at talking, but like I want to learn the other side of like editing and techniques. So I was always asking questions. And I think people really resonated with that or kind of appreciated the fact that I'm not there like, oh my God, I know everything. Absolutely not. I'm really, really willing to learn. I was always
Mhm.
asking questions and also providing value for free. I haven't really like done like coaching per se. I think I've done coach like two people who are even like really good friends with me right now. Like we're just like actually good friends. Just fell in love with the fact that you bring something to life and you create a story around the product. So I think what I kind of learned over time was that, you need to integrate the product into your actual daily life. And that helps you
Mm,
share the story. So for example, like this, I have a makeup spray next to me. I have like a makeup spray, I
mhm,
basically create a story around that product and then let that story be something naturally like integrated to my personal life. And I think that's what a lot of my clients were just kind of commenting on, that they like the way I brought the story to life. So that's when I realized, I
mm,
think I have something here. But I didn't realize
right.
the power of storytelling and the power that it really has for everyday people, brands for like a long time, even though I was kind of doing it. And I think it took me kind of stepping
Mhm,
back and realizing, okay, you know, what else is there to this storytelling thing? And that's how I kind of got into creative strategy, which is what I do like now as well. So I work
mhm,
freelance in a creative strategy an agency, sorry, as a creative strategist as well as what I'm doing. And the reason why I like the creative strategy aspect is because you use storytelling to bring a product to life, even how we do the script.
mm,
It's very much like, it's not just hook, body, CTA. Like each line has an aspect
right.
of the story that needs to tell the story of a bigger picture, if that makes sense. So,
Mm,
um,
mhm,
yeah, I think it went from creative UGC into creative strategy, where like I'm actually doing the story building behind the product.
right.
I think when it comes to UGC and create strategy, you just have to
Mm,
like really accept that there's a bigger picture. There's a bigger picture to it. And I think I just enjoyed storytelling. I just enjoyed showing how something can be useful. And I think I realized this because I just generally like providing value for people. So even if you feel like you have the
mhm,
same product in your house, I want to tell you how that product can be valuable in your everyday life. It doesn't need to be like a big,
mm,
big change or anything like that. So that's why even now, if I work with a client or a brand or anything like that, working with brands and clients that I would actually use in my everyday life, because it just makes it easier to tell a
mhm,
story rather than faking it, you
right,
know, which can
right.
even can actually be the problem. Obviously, people say like, "Oh, UGC is a bit like, you're just faking it," but that's why I think it's important to choose brands and partnerships that you would actually use. That's really important because
Mhm.
it makes it so much easier to tell a story around it and actually build a story around that. Yeah, I hope I didn't talk too much and that's kind of helped you a little bit.
No, no, not at all. I think a lot of founders and
Mhm,
entrepreneurs hear a lot about
mhm,
storytelling, but it's not necessarily an easy
mhm,
task to
mhm,
grasp. Of course, it is
mhm,
for you because you've been doing it
mhm.
for a while. But why do you think so many founders do struggle to tell their own
Mhm.
story?
Well, I think number one, I think they feel that telling their story would make them look a bit weak, make them look a bit inexperienced,
Mm,
make them look like they don't know what
mm,
they're doing. And I think one of the things that I've learned recently, and I would say 2025 has been the year of storytelling. That's 100% the truth.
mhm,
Where I've seen particular founders come out and literally say, I'm struggling. And that struggle actually turned their whole business upside down in terms of they went from struggle to making more money in a week than they had made it the whole year. I remember a particular story on LinkedIn. I can't remember the founder's name at the moment, but she was like a candle brand or something like that in the UK. And she literally said
mhm,
that, we are struggling. We are struggling with sales. We're struggling with this. This is what I've learned along the way. And she wasn't necessarily saying, hey, come and buy my stuff because I'm struggling. She didn't even mention that at all. But she said that
mhm,
literally within a week, people were like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that you as a founder, you're a normal person. You're also going through issues. You're also going through things. And, it's good to also learn
mhm,
what you're like learning and from these experiences. And it turned their business around. And I think for me, that made me realize that being more human actually makes better connection with your audience. But I think founders are
right.
so caught up in wanting to have a certain look or lifestyle that they miss the human aspect. Humans go through things.
Mhm,
Humans make mistakes. But I think one thing founders need to learn is that when you do make the mistakes, now what can you show others to help them also avoid that mistake? You don't have to make it pretty, but you can
mhm,
literally be like, I've made minus in profit, but here's what I learned to turn it over. And I think so many people are just
mhm,
kind of worried about looking unprofessional because, of course, investors are watching, people that you maybe look up to are watching. So you're thinking, oh my gosh, like I look a bit, bad for like not making money. But actually, when you say what you're learning from it, like even though you've not made money, this is what you've learned instead. It shows that you're someone who's actually, you have a bit of grit, you know, you have a bit of determination that
Mhm.
even though this is the case, you are still pressing forward, because someone else would have just said, well, that's it, then I'm done. And maybe not even spoken about it. But I even saw yesterday another founder had mentioned that they were closing their business because they had been robbed, they had not made any sales, all these kind of things. And they were very
Mm.
public about it, and the outpour of messages and praises and stuff. Now, 6 months later, they've actually gone to join forces with another company where they said, look, we failed,
Mm.
but we would like to work with you. You know, you'd think that the other business would be like, if you failed, why would you come to us? You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't make sense. But I think that
Mhm.
human part of being honest and being clear that I failed, but this is what I learned, actually makes you more real and more, we can, like, people can connect with you so much easier, like so much easier. So I feel like when it comes to founders storytelling, they're afraid of the vulnerability and the human aspects of when it comes to just telling their story. You know, maybe they think that nobody would care, but it's actually the ones who tell their story from, you know, how they grew and how they, you know, failed, how they developed, how this, all of these kind of things. They're the ones that actually get invited for speaking events. They're the ones that get invited for
Right.
podcasts, because people are interested in knowing, you know, your journey. Your journey is so important, like
Mhm.
so important. And that's exactly why I built the Good Yap.
Mhm.
It's because I felt that sometimes you don't really know what your journey really was until you talk about it. So the Good Yap is basically to
Right.
encourage conversation. So I'm working with them on one-to-one basis. So encourage conversation where we talk about your journey. You know, if you spend 20 minutes just talking about your journey from why you started, you know, what was the frustrating moment that caused you to start your business? And let's flesh that out and actually produce content that people will say, oh my gosh, this is something I can relate with. This is something that I find really interesting. You know, most of us as humans, we're nosy. That's the truth. We're nosy. We
Right.
love hearing like, oh, what's going on here? What's going on here? But if you don't give them something to
Right.
really, in a sense, talk about, you be irrelevant. You know, you might have a great product, but
Yep.
nobody knows who you are. So anytime I see anyone starting something, I've even told my friend that she has like a really cool business. I'm like, share your story, share your story. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so nervous.
Mm.
She shared
Mhm.
her story, like, and it's been her most watched reel within 24 hours. And she's like, oh my gosh, how did that happen?
Mm.
I'm like, because people like reality, you know? Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
I think that's really important. Yeah.
Sorry, I had a question and I lost it. Okay, it's coming back to me. So I think that there's a lot of pressure on entrepreneurs and
hmm
founders
hmm
these days to, like you're discussing, put their face forward and be the face of the brand and build in public, partly because we are seeing so much success
Exactly.
there. Absolutely. Also, with the introduction of AI,
hmm
people like,
hmm
or do you think every founder should show their face on camera?
hmm
Does that, for founders who are truly camera shy and truly not interested, can they still be successful if they are not the build in public
hmm
type?
Well, I think one thing I've realized that some people don't necessarily have maybe an understanding of. Let's say, for example, somebody selling like hair care products, right? It doesn't necessarily mean on your brand page you need to put your face out there for your hair care product, if that makes sense. I think you can separate it where your brand kit page could be just your product, just your service, just what you're doing. And I think the reason why I find this question so interesting is because I think people are so mindful of, oh, they need to sit behind a camera and like talk to the camera. This is why I love like platforms like LinkedIn, if I'm honest with you. And I always tell people that the reason why I even love LinkedIn is because I can literally be writing a post in my hair bonnet. You would never know. Not that I want to be deceptive,
Mhm,
but
mhm,
I don't necessarily
mhm,
have to come in front of the camera and talk. You can share a story through words. Words have way more power than a lot of people actually accept and understand. And what I would say is that, for example, you have like your Instagram page, your TikTok page, and you have all your brand stuff on there. I would say the founder or entrepreneur should have a LinkedIn page with that, you know?
mm.
Even with the LinkedIn post, you don't necessarily have to be, I don't even see a lot of videos on LinkedIn. It's not really like a thing. Give me a second, sorry. It's not really
No worries, no
something
worries.
that, sorry, I think someone was trying to call me. I was like, "Oh, don't call me." Yeah, it's not really
No, no
something that
worries.
they have to necessarily like have a video on there. You know, you can use like I use like pictures from like last year on there. You know, pictures from earlier this year, and it
Mhm,
can even literally be pictures of you reading a book. It could literally be pictures of you, um, you know, in a cafe. You know, where necessarily you're not necessarily
mhm.
smiling, hey, you know, talking. It doesn't need to be like that. But when it comes to LinkedIn, maybe just
Right.
one little picture, of like, you know, maybe even a picture from your childhood or something like that. But I think what's really important is your words. Words have a lot more power than you expect. So I think it's really important for
Mm,
founders to understand that. I think it is a platform thing. I think people are so used to, oh my God, everyone says I need to be on TikTok. Everyone says I need to be on Instagram. For your brand, yes, but for
mhm,
you as a person, I think the best platform is LinkedIn, which will not necessarily require you to
mhm.
stand in front of the camera and talk. It will not necessarily require you
Right.
to share your whole life story like right in front of the camera, like, hey, this is me. No, like I'm not gonna lie to you.
Mhm,
I have a child. I'll be talking and you come in the middle,
mhm,
like, brother, I'm trying to do something. So I don't always get that time. So I usually like when he's out with
mhm,
his dad or with, he's doing something, that's when I'm like, okay, I'm going to do my UGC videos, or I do my UGC videos when he's
mhm.
taking a nap. But imagine I had to like, my whole brand was focused on me just talking to the camera. It might not necessarily work. And I
Mhm.
understand, especially as an entrepreneur, you don't always have that time. That's the truth. You know, you've got like a whole admin
Yeah.
situation. You don't have the time to really stand
Right.
and sit in front of a
Right.
camera, which is even why, you know, I
Right.
built the Good Yap, because I also do ghostwriting as well. So the whole point is that we have a conversation,
Mm,
you tell me everything, and I basically flesh it out and help you produce that content in terms of what it looks like written. So I would either write it for you and give
mm.
you a basis and say, this is what I think, but I know that I need your voice. So I want to make sure that this is
Right.
touching the point of sounding like you. If not, what else would you like to add? These kind of things. This is why it's important to also know when to like hire or have somebody else help you with stuff as well. Of course, you know, there's AI and all
Mhm,
this kind of stuff,
mhm.
but now AI can it can really be detected. So you need to be mindful of that.
Yeah.
So I think that
Right.
any founder who's kind of worried that, oh, you know, I need to put myself out there, my face, I think your best place to be would be LinkedIn. And you don't
Mhm,
necessarily have to put like, you know, like extremely personal things on there, but you can really do share your journey, things you're learning on like day to
mhm.
day basis. But I think, you know, being mindful that maybe you do need a little bit of help, somebody to help you put that story together is not a bad thing. It doesn't make you a bad person, it doesn't make you a bad founder. It just makes you strategic.
Right.
That's the truth. And everybody needs to be a bit, strategic these days. Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I saw this
Hmm.
quote once. I'd have to look and see
Hmm.
where it is. Maybe a founder told
Hmm.
me actually, but basically the idea is that go where you will be
Hmm.
successful. So if you know that video content doesn't
Hmm.
work for you, or if you know that TikTok's not your
Hmm.
platform, then go to
Hmm.
LinkedIn or go to
Hmm.
Substack. Go to a platform that works for
Exactly.
your interests and works for your skills because you can always build
Hmm.
later on another platform like that off of the audience you've
Exactly.
built on a platform that works
Exactly.
for you. Yeah.
Exactly. 100%. I agree with
Yeah.
that. Like, totally.
Yeah. I want to ask you a little bit about your own
Hmm.
business and your process of starting that. My first kind of question
Hmm.
around that is it's a biggie
Hmm.
maybe. So, but what has been the hardest part for you so far about turning creativity into a business?
Oh, that's been a really interesting part. But I think I have the answer to that. And I think it's been clarity, because I think
Mm,
sometimes you have so many ideas, especially me, like, I'll be honest with you, like, I've been told so many times I'm very creative. That's just my thing, you know? But I think
mm, mhm,
narrowing down that creativity or those ideas into something tangible, it it took me a little while. I think because I was like, I've got
mhm,
so many things I do. Like I say, like I do UGC, you know, because initially when I was starting out a business, I was like, I'm going to do UGC agency where like I'd be the middleman between the brands and the creators, that kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then I changed my mind and I was like, I feel like I don't want to do this. And I think it was that kind of thing of
mm,
like, I felt a little bit ashamed that, oh my gosh, like I made this big announcement, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And then I changed my mind. So I literally like went silent about it. Then I eventually was like, no, this is actually part of the journey. Like I've made a very honest post that look, I felt like a failure, which is my LinkedIn. And it's like,
Mhm.
I felt like I had failed at what I was talking about with people that, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But I think I knew that my main issue was that I needed clarity, clarity on who I'm speaking to, what I'm doing for them, and the solution that I actually want to provide for them, if that makes sense. I think,
Mhm.
especially when
Mhm.
you've got so many ideas, it can just kind of go all over the place here, here, here. No, I kind of
Right.
had to like
Right.
sit down with myself. I also joined like a group mentoring program as well, which is like really, really, really amazing. I joined that
Mhm.
where we had like classes. It's called the Market Hair Club, um, by a girl called Kashiba on LinkedIn as well. So I connected with her, joined,
Mhm.
and I think within a month or two, I literally had the clarity that I needed. Like sometimes you just need a bit of
Mhm.
clarity, and then just once you have that clarity, I feel the confidence is when it's is what happens next. So I think sometimes a lot of founders, which is what I'm also building for them as well, is that right now you probably have so many ideas, so many stories and touch points that you want to talk about. How do you put it into
Mhm.
something that makes
Mhm.
sense to your audience or to your potential audience? Before that, when I got
Yeah.
that clarity, it made me realize how I can help people also provide that clarity. Because number one, I'm able to talk to you from a personal perspective that, yes, I also had the issue of clarity as well. So now this is what I learned. This
Mhm.
is how I overcame it. Now I'm showing you. Does that make sense? Where like,
Right.
because I think sometimes
Right.
the best experience you can have is a personal experience. You can speak from a personal perspective that, look, the same issue that you're having right now, I was there. I was absolutely in that same position.
Absolutely.
So I think once I've finally got that click moment or that moment of, okay, this is clear for me, that's when I'm like, okay, I can actually
Right.
turn this into a tangible service that people can benefit from. And that's exactly what I'm doing now.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that. I don't want to take up too much
Hmm.
more of your
Hmm.
time, so I'd love to do some rapid fires with you
Sure.
before we wrap up. Okay. All right. Let's do it. First
Hmm.
question for you. What is your favorite campaign you've ever worked on?
Oh, my favorite campaign. Hmm. Oh, this is a hard question. I had that answer earlier, but now I'm like, I've gone blank now. Okay, so favorite campaign. I'm not sure if I had a favorite. I'd say a memorable one. I
Mm.
think was I recently did one for Colgate in the UK. That was like a UGC
Mhm.
campaign. I think because when I was first doing the content, they gave me like a really cool brief. It was like really cool with an agency. And they kind of was like, they actually used one of my videos as the example of what I should create. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. So it felt very like I felt like I had a lot of creative freedom when it came to that. At first I
Mhm.
was doing it and I was like, oh, I'm not too sure. I think I had a bit of doubts of myself personally. It was like an internal thing, like, I don't think this would work. But the moment I kind of stepped into, you know what, I need this to be as natural as possible. I think I remember I literally was
Mhm.
like, I'm going to look at the script a bit, understand what I'm saying, but I should flow with whatever comes out. So I literally clicked record, and I spoke about a personal story. It was basically talking about my smile, how I used to be so
Mm.
conscious of my smile because of my teeth, all these kind of things. And it was a very real story. I was actually telling like a very personal story. And within like, 5 minutes, I'd done the video. And that was the one that actually was approved like quite quickly. Like, okay, this is perfect because it was
Mm.
so personal. And I think I was so mindful of this campaign, what they've chosen me because of my storytelling ability. So if I remove that,
Mhm.
I'm basically not doing what I've been told to do, if that makes sense. So I
Right.
think
Right.
once that moment it clicks in my head that I've been hired because of what I can do, because of what I tend to love
Mhm.
doing, which is storytelling, tap into that and it would make a
Mhm.
difference. So once I did that, that's when things actually worked for me. So I think that was probably one of my most memorable campaigns.
Love that. That's great. That's such a good story. Also, Colgate is such a good
Yeah.
name drop.
Yeah. I was thinking what else, but I mean, there's so many other brands, but yeah, that's one of the good ones.
What is your go-to tip for fixing a boring ad?
Go to tip. I would say one thing you need to look at is if somebody turns off the sound of that video, would
Mhm.
it make sense? Would it be engaging? Would somebody say, okay, what the heck am I watching? Because a lot of the times, which people don't actually know, within the advertising world, this is something that a lot of us creative strategists and media buyers actually know. People actually watch ads without sound. That is the truth.
Mhm.
So if your content doesn't look engaging enough without sound, that's video content, by the way. So like obviously
Mhm.
that's most times video content is when you see the ads. If your content doesn't make sense without sound, you need to fix something. Something is missing somewhere, maybe
Mhm.
visually, or even how, the camera pans out. So for example, maybe someone's got like a bit of a zoom effect or something like that. But it's always understand that if
Mhm.
you look at this video right now and it doesn't make sense without sound, then you need to basically rearrange it. So you need to add either some sort of text on screen as well. Maybe, sometimes at the top of the video, you might just see like something related to it. Of course, that's how like TikTok would categorize your content or categorize your ad. Put something on top, add
Mhm.
some sort of visual effect, something, zoom, da 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 da. Da. That's the best way because people are likely to watch it without sound at first. Yeah. Because sometimes also when you're
Yeah.
scrolling, you know, depending on the platform you're using, the actual thing is like has no sound. So you have to be able to see like, okay,
Yeah.
if this thing has no sound and it still looks a bit confusing and it's boring,
Mhm.
you need to fix something. Visual effects, you
Yeah.
know, something on screen needs to come up and be clear to the audience that this is what the video is going to be about. Yeah.
Yeah. Great tip. I love that. I've never
Oh,
heard that
okay.
before, and I love it. What a good tip.
Great.
Yeah. My last
Mhm,
question for you, my favorite
mhm,
question I ask every founder. Do you have a book or a resource or
mhm.
course or anything like that that you can recommend to budding entrepreneurs?
Ooh, product course book. I haven't really got anything to recommend. I would say so far, I would say in terms of like increasing your knowledge as a founder or anything like that, I would say honestly, I actually go on YouTube a lot. I'm a YouTube person.
Mhm. Okay.
So I actually just
Yeah.
maybe just search something to do with storytelling or search something to do with lifestyle. There's a creator, I forgot her name. I'm gonna try. I think her name's Jade. I think her name's Jade, something Jade B. She talks about
Mhm.
creator trends and trends within social media. Like she's a very knowledgeable creator. Like she talks about, yeah, a lot of knowledge and understanding that she has of the industry. She gets insights from panels,
Mhm.
she gets insights from summits, that kind of thing. I would say hone in on your area, if that makes sense. If you are somebody who's into
Mhm.
finance, find a finance creator, you know, find a
Mhm.
fashion creator if you're in fashion, find them and listen to what they're saying. And I think what I've learned recently, I think I was watching a video yesterday, is that there is like a new wave of creators who are knowledge based. They're actually coming in with facts. Yeah. I think it also depends on the kind
Mhm.
of learner you are, because I think I used to be such a like book reader and I'm trying to get back into that. But I think I realized that I really like almost like I'm having a conversation with somebody. Does that make sense? So that's why I've kind of gone back to
Mhm.
YouTube in the last year. So I would literally sit down and listen to like knowledge creators, if that makes sense. And one good
Mhm.
place I also love watching, like I was watching it yesterday, I was just on my lunch break, but I was really enjoying it, was oh my gosh, her head name's gone out my head now. Oh my gosh, give me a second. I'm just gonna try and get that name really
No
quick.
worries. No worries.
Oh my gosh. How did that just disappear off my head?
Take
Give me
your
a
time.
second.
Take your time.
I
No
was
worries.
literally just watching it yesterday. Emma Grade. Is that how you say it? Greed? Gred.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
I think
Mhm.
she's
Mhm.
one of the co-founders of Skims, and her husband is also the CEO of Skims. Oh my gosh,
Mhm.
she literally comes on and speaks about, also similar to what you do, like founders' journeys and stuff. And she asks like questions.
Mhm.
I love what she does as well because you get to find out like the depths of like founders and building all that kind of stuff. And I think it's really important, like how we're having this conversation. I think if people can
Mhm.
hone in to listen to information and listen to how people have learned things, how people have overcome situations. I think as an entrepreneur, if you're not tuning into things that are within your, let's say, your area, like you're actually trying to build something, feel like you're missing
Mhm.
out. That's why it's this podcast. I think if
Yeah.
loads of founders were like, okay, let me listen to founders and genes, they would really like
Mhm.
learn something because, like you said, I've told you what I learned over time, how I tried to do
Mhm.
influence and it failed, all these kind of things. If you don't
Mhm.
tap into listening to what others have done in the past, you make the exact same mistakes. So I feel that for me
Right.
personally, it's been like YouTube and podcasts, I'd definitely
Yeah.
love to take on some more book recommendations, but I haven't got there yet.
Yeah.
That's kind of what works for me because of the kind of learner I am, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Those are great recommendations. And yeah, I love Emma
Yes.
Creed. I think she's
Yes.
brilliant. Everything she says is
Yes.
brilliant. Well, Yvette, I'm so glad that I got to have you on. This has been such a good
Thank you.
chat. For people who are listening to this, where can they
Okay.
find you? Where can people
Yeah,
connect with you?
so my favorite platform at the moment is LinkedIn. So it's Yvette Boateng. So boat and then
Mhm.
E for excellent, N for November, G for golf. So boat and then the eng at the end. At the moment. Yeah. And then also Instagram, I think it's YB Socials. I think so. Yeah, I remember that's
Mhm.
what right, YB Socials. Same thing with X. I think it's YB
Yeah.
Socials underscore. Same thing. So those are like my three platforms. So LinkedIn,
Yeah.
Instagram, and X is like the three places you can find me. So I love to connect and have chats with people.
Great. I love it. And that'll all be linked in the show
Please,
notes as
thank you.
well. But Yvette, thank you so much. I'm so glad I
Yes,
got to do
please. I'm so
this.
grateful.
Yeah. All right. And that is a wrap.